Now that we've got that bum Bima out of the way and we have that fraud commas right up out of the way, we can go ahead and talk about my sweet Indian wife Durga, who would definitely not hurt a fly unless you're looking at her third ascension, but we just don't use the third ascension around here. We just don't talk about that. And on the real, I know this is a character that a lot of people are really hyped for, and I'm very happy to tell you that this character is pretty good. I've been using her ever since she came out for Ordeal Call 1 on the JP side of things, and she really has not disappointed me. I mean, there was a 90++, I believe it was for the Tolmaias event, that even though it did need a little bit of RNG, stuff that Durga has in her kit allowed me to get it to a very consistent 3-turn with no Oberon needed. Like, this character is just really good. They can loop surprisingly well, and they do a mondo amount of damage. So we're gonna talk about her and all the things you need to know about her if you're going to be polling for her, or maybe you're watching this video in the future because you pulled her on a GSSR, in which case, congratulations, you have arguably the best soporifics. As per usual, if you do enjoy these daily FGO videos, make sure you leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel, as it's absolutely free and helps me out more than you know, as I do put these videos out every single day. Now with that being said, strap in, get comfortable, because we're going to be talking all things Durga, starting off with her hits, and she is a little bit of an odd one, with her hits over here rocking a double quick double arts deck as an art servant. Now that's not bad, because she does enjoy doing some nice crits, but you would think they might have gone at double buster, double arts, because, well, she's kind of a crazy woman in her third ascension, but it ends up working out because the quick cards help her get more refund over the buster card, because go figure, the card that gens no NP is going to gen less NP than the card that at least has a value to gen NP. Now you might be looking at that really low 0.3% NP gain and going, ZTL, I'm not sure if this character is going to be able to loop very well. And that's what I thought when this character first came out, but as you'll see in a lot of the background gameplay, she not only loops rather well, I mean, there's not really a time I actually need to use her battery, which is really crazy considering how large a battery they gave her. That does mean it does work out really well for her in like 90+ or 90++ nodes, where she can refund like 50% of her NP back or more against like 2 enemies, so that does make her pretty good against that. Although I would be a fraud if I didn't mention that she is rocking a 5-hit extra attack, which if you are not in the know, let me inform you, the extra attack is a composite card that gen stars NP and does big boy damage, and over here at the illustrious ZTL Industries, we like to see 5 hits as the golden standard. Thank you, Tucson, for blessing my Indian wife over here with the 5-hit glorious card. Now moving on to her passive skills, there's a lot to talk about over here, and these are quite some good ones. Remember how I said those quick cards are going to be pretty good? Well, she is rocking a passive 10% quick buff from her riding passive, but also a passive 10% arts and crit damage from Divinely Bestowed Arms EX. So those cards are going to be doing a little bit more damage and are going to be refunding a little bit more NP than you might initially expect. And because she is a goddess character, she's not only rocking magic resistance because she's a knight class servant, but also an additional 22.5% because of her goddess essence B, basically saying that she has 42.5% debuff resistance. It's not quite a coin flip to just negate any debuffs coming her way, but it is still really good to have as a passive buff. And then she's also rocking independent action C because she's an archer, so passively she will always have 16% crit damage up, which is really, really strong. If you're looking into any of her append skills, well, Durga has quite a good one, with her third append skill being special damage against berserkers. So she'll not only perform rather well going into saber fights, but also if you need her to drop some berserkers, she'll do some extra damage against them if she wasn't already hitting hard enough already. But let's start moving into her skills properly. Starting off with her first skill over here, Mahamaya. I hope I'm getting that correct.
Mahamaya.
This is a very simple skill that charges her battery by 50%, that's that large battery I was talking about earlier, and it overcharges the entire party's NP stage by 1 time for 3 turns. As an arts character, this is supremely broken. Do you know how good the art supports are? Like, just taking multi-core out of the equation, because obviously if you're rocking like a Durga plus a Summary Buki for a 90++ multi-core, they're both going to get a bonus to their power mods, right? Which Durga obviously has on her NP. But outside of that, just thinking really basic, dumbing it down, you have people like Castoria, Tamamo, Lady Avalon that all have supremely powerful effects on their overcharges, whether it be solemn defense, more NP for the party, or just flat out just getting a couple of extra stars every single turn. This is a very, very powerful ability, and whenever a character has the ability to overcharge the entire party's NP, it can lead to some pretty disgusting effects. I mean, look at how good Morgan is in the Immortal team comp, and it's really just because on NP, she gives the entire party the NP overcharge, but this could be arguably better in some scenarios because she's an arts character. You can use her with Tamamo, and you can just loop this skill all over the place, and then you're just flooding in solemn defense, flooding in NP because of that Tamamo, and you're just doing extra damage because of Durga's own overcharge. Just a very, very strong first skill. It looks really basic and very unassuming, but it is very, very strong. Moving into her second skill, the Unapproachable one. Yeah, well, I'll take you up on that challenge there, buddy. You think you're gonna be all scary and not let me approach you? Nah. Bro is really trying to hit the Dio pose, but nah, I am approaching. On the real, this skill is actually pretty strong just for the basics for what it gives her. It gives her 3 hits of invincibility for 3 turns and 20% to her quick, arts, and buster cards for 3 turns on a 6-turn cooldown. And keep in mind, flashback to what we talked about with her passive skills, these are actually 30% for the quick and arts cards because she passively gets a 10% buff for both of those card types, which again is probably why they only gave her the 1 buster card. Actually, that'd be really interesting to know if they build the skills for the character first and then the hits, or the hits and then the skills. That would actually be really interesting to know when it comes into building these characters, what order they do that in. But effectively, this is a skill that whenever you see it up, you click it, right? You see skill, you click the skill as soon as it's available because it's giving her survivability that just kind of lasts for a couple of extra turns. And then it's just giving her those card buffs that are just nice to have. You know, all of our cards are going to be doing more damage, more refunding. You get the gist. You know, we've all at least done the tutorial where they explain what each of the cards do. So just a very strong second skill for allowing her to kind of just function normally. And then finally, there is her third skill, the third eye. Oh my goodness, Nasu, you've done it again. The third skill is the third eye. This is so deep. I must make a Reddit post about this immediately. But this is the cherry on top for Durga's kit because this skill is insanely strong. It gives her 30% NP damage for 3 turns, changes all of her command cards to arts for a turn, and gives her pierce invincibility for 1 turn on a low 5-turn cooldown. Reference back to you being able to use Tamamo with her, this skill is on a low cooldown, so you can kind of just loop it if that's something you're into. But where do we even start with this? For one, the NP damage is at a very high rate. Normally, characters only get about that 15 to 20% NP damage for 3 turns. They gave her a really high NP damage buff, which makes her insanely good if you have Oberon. I unfortunately am not able to showcase that because Oberon is avoiding my JP account like the plague, but if you are in possession of Oberon, she is going to be supremely powerful, more so than she already is right now. The Pierce Invincibility, I think, is the most basic. I mean, you get around enemy dodge and invincibility buffs. It literally says what it does on the tin. Just really good to have for CQs. But changing the command card types to arts for 1 turn is really strong. When I mentioned being able to do that 90++ quest, it's because of this skill right here. Because you're always getting all of these arts card buffs from your Castorias, your Lady Avalons, or whoever else you're deciding to use alongside your Durga, I won't judge. Your arts cards are generally going to be the strongest, especially when it comes to doing crits. So in that 90++ node, as long as I had one of Durga's arts cards, I was able to get through the fight in a 3-turn manner. And because she can change all of her cards to arts whenever you pop this skill, you can on demand negate a lot of that RNG. Realistically, you just need to find one of Durga's cards, and then it doesn't really matter which one it was. It could be the quick card or the buster card. They're all getting converted into the arts card. It is supremely powerful, not only in farming, but also in CQs, because you can immediately set up an arch chain, so you're pretty much going to refund all of your NP back and be all hunky-dory. But we're not done yet.
But I'm not done yet. Call right now, and I'll triple the offer.
We still have to talk about her NP, and this is a pretty good one. You know it's good whenever they're rocking double power mods. So, like I mentioned earlier, the overcharge power mod is against demonic enemies, which is pretty solid. There's a fair amount of servants in the demonic category, but a lot of free quest enemies that fall into this demonic category. And her damage with this demonic power mod, I mean, you'll look at her base damage and say, yeah, you know, she's alright. Like, she's doing some pretty decent damage, but once you factor this in, she's hitting as hard, if not harder, than some of the strong strongest arts AoE servants that are in the game. Like, she can do some pretty mondo damage with this up, but she is rocking a nice side chick power mod in the Sky attribute, 50% whenever she pops her NP, which can be really nice because Sky attribute isn't the largest power mod, I would say, but it is very, very annoying whenever it does pop up, as many NA players probably know, going off of some of the more recent 90++ nodes that just love to scatter these guys all over the place. So having somebody that can do really good damage and they can deal with these annoying Sky attribute people is in a nice premium. And then if you're going into CQs or you're reliant on face cards, she does reduce the enemy's defense by 20% for 3 turns. So say you're fighting a boss, every subsequent NP is going to do more and more damage because you're further reducing their defense every single time. And you can stack those for up to 3 turns. And if you're doing a 90++ node or you're doing some type of farming, all of her follow-up cards are going to do more damage on top of the NP because she reduced the damage beforehand. So as long as you follow up the NP with some face cards and some crits, she's going to be all good. Then let's say you want to make Durga/Kali your Grand Archer in like 2 or 3 years or however long until we get that. Let's look at her Bond CE. The Bond CE is actually not all that bad. It gives the entire party 15% Sky Attribute Power Mod and 15% Demonic Power Mod while she's on the field. The reason this is notable is that your Grand Servants get to equip their Bond CE alongside a normal one. So she's just getting a little bit of an extra power mod while also giving that to everybody else. Not a bad Bond CE for her to have, contributing some nice damage to the entire party. So is this character worth rolling for? I would say if you like this character, you like their design, you're trying to collect all the Sakura faces, then most definitely. This character is not bad. I would say even more so than Bima, they have a really good use case for you to go and try to summon for them because they're just going to be a really strong arts AoE character in your account that is rocking some really strong power mods and is just good in a lot of scenarios because of the fact that she can take care of herself with the invincibility buffs. You can manipulate your cards with her 3rd skill, and her 1st skill is something that's at a premium, being able to buff the entire party's NP charge by 1 stage. That is always going to be really strong, especially in arts teams. But again, it does come down to, are you going to summon for Durga that is going to take some of your Saint Courts away from Anniversary and the Summer banners? Because as much as I think Durga is a really strong unit, she's just not as good as the Anniversary and the Summer characters. Those guys are a different breed. They go to a different school. They're way, way stronger than pretty much all the other characters we're getting this year. Very few characters could even rival their power. You need like a Draco or a Kenshin to kind of rival what they're going to be doing. And unfortunately, while those characters might be S-tier characters, I feel like Durga's more of an A-tier character. Really strong, but there are some flaws. For instance, I mentioned that she does like to do crits, and she can do some okay crit damage, but she has no native crit damage on her kit anywhere. I'm assuming they're leaving that for a future buff. There is this theory that I have that a lot of characters seem to be missing something in their kit so they can go back and buff them in the future. Look at Draco's NP, it pretty much just is the power mod. My game theory is that they're leaving that unbuffed so in the future they can say, oh, we're finally going to give her Pierce Invincibility on her NP or something, or power mod against burned enemy. That's the same thing that I kind of feel for Durga. Like, you can see the 1st skill, they could easily just slap on 50% crit damage for 3 turns on that skill and call it a day, and it would be like, oh, look at that, it's hype. We gave Durga a buff and it was just giving her something that she really needed. The other thing that can kind of catch her is the fact that the Pierce Invincibility is only for 1 turn, so you could be fighting a boss, you could pop this and then they pop another dodge, and so while you were able to get them on the 1st turn, you can now no longer get them on the follow-up turns. The other thing that can get you is while being able to change her card types to arts, that is really good. It negates a lot of RNG, but you do still need to find the Durga card. She's not CL, she's not Ruler Artoria that completely reshuffles the deck. She's just changing her cards to her art cards. So it can be a little bit unfortunate if you are reliant still on her face cards to clear a node and you don't find any of them. That's the aforementioned RNG that I mentioned in the 90++, where there were some runs that it took 4 turns because I didn't find any of Durga's cards and couldn't convert them to art cards. So those are just a couple of things to kind of keep note of, some of the weaknesses or the faults that I see in my use of Durga. But do not take that to mean that she is not a strong character or is not worth rolling for. Again, if you like your Sakura faces or you just like your evil, crazy women and you're going for Kali, then by all means, go summon for this character. I think they're good, but if you are more limited on your Saint Courts and you're just kind of vibing with this character, I would say for Anniversary or the Summer character. Pretty much any one of those 3 characters is really insane, is going to boost your account to sky-high levels, specifically Ace the Savior or Summer Castoria. Those two are supremely powerful. But let me know in the comment section down below if you have rolled for Durga. I keep seeing in the comments that these videos are summoning catalysts for people. They're like, I was watching your video and I pulled 95 copies of Durga. And I'm like, you know what? Pop off, King. Use this as a summoning catalyst because I myself will not be summoning for Durga. I think I've spent too much this year and I need to start committing to the NP5 Tonalico summon. So you guys can have all my luck for this banner. If you enjoyed this video, again, please leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps me out more than you know, and it's absolutely free. If you can't get enough of me, there are some cheeky links down in the description down below that you can go ahead and peep. For one, we have the Discord, so if you want to get some help on FGO or just talk to other players that are playing the game, we have a nice FGO chat where we have some very helpful people that can help you along if you are struggling with anything. But we also talk about some other games, like we have the Dokkan chat, which is peaceful and nothing ever goes wrong in there. Same for the Yu-Gi-Oh chat. You'd expect it to be hectic and people would always be at each other's throats, but it is actually the kindest place you will ever see on the internet. With me picking up some of the Hoyo games, especially because of the Fate Stay Night collaboration, we do now have a Hoyoverse chat, which you would never catch me frequenting. I am too above that to ask for help from those plebeians, but if you want to go ask for their help, by all means, you can go in there. And then finally, there is the Shadow Government chat. If you are a patron, which is also linked down in the description down below, subscribing to the Patreon should give you access to one of the Patreon channels where those people are allowed to vote on videos that come out every Friday. Those are the videos that you've seen for like Babbage or the Saberface or the Liz tier list. I always just throw that out there. I'm like, hey, what fun video are we doing this Friday? Sometimes they're great, and sometimes I want to strangle all the patrons. But hey, we do believe in democracy, so the patrons get what the patrons vote for. Finally, as you guys have been seeing, I've been streaming a little bit more frequently on the channel, both here on YouTube and on the Twitch. I do dual streaming, so, you know, whatever chat is to your liking, whether you like Twitch interface or the YouTube interface. Maybe you've already got Twitch Prime, maybe you've already got YouTube Premium, so you want to watch on YouTube. Doesn't really matter. I do it on both. And you'll see that Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we're trying to do FGO, and Tuesday, Thursday, we are trying to branch out to some other games. We have been playing a little bit more of Honkai Star Rail because I'm trying to get ready for that Saber preparation. I know that a lot of these Genshin type games can be a little brutal when it comes to their summoning and what the rates are going to be, so at least trying to guarantee that I'll have enough to not only make it past the 50-50, but just make it to the guarantee summon. Just let me get my Saber and walk away with my winnings. So with all that being said, though, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. You guys have yourselves a nice rest of your day, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Bye!